Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So another activist court in another activist state has decided to uphold a ban on magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds. And I, for one, would like to know who came up with this stupid 10-round number that essentially says 11 is far too many and 9 is not quite enough. 10 is an absolute arbitrary number. It has no meaning whatsoever. I'm sure it was just some dingleberry in a think tank somewhere who couldn't decide and said, well, I don't know, let's just go with 10. And the states and courts decided to run with it. So again, today we have to talk about another mag ban being upheld. So let's get to it. Now, real quick before we get started, if you believe the mag bans are completely unconstitutional and you support the Second Amendment advocacy that we are doing here on this channel to spread information and awareness, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that little bell notification to let you know when new videos come out, and leave a comment down below. That's where all the action happens. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. Now, this is a perfect example of why the Supreme Court needs to start accepting cases like Ocean State Tactical v. Rhode Island and the cases heading up there right now, Duncan v. Bonta, which challenge these exact same things. If the Supreme Court would simply answer this question, it would stop the lower courts from infringing on people's Second Amendment rights, and it would stop them from abusing and ignoring the Bruin decision. Now, the case that we're talking about today is out of the state of Washington. It's a case called Washington State v. Gator Custom Guns. Now, this all comes because after Washington passed their magazine ban, Gator Custom decided, you know what, that's unconstitutional, we're not going to abide by it, and so they continued to offer them. That led to an investigation, which led to this case, which led to the Washington State Supreme Court. Now, this decision by the Washington State Supreme Court was just filed today, and it reads a lot like the decision in Duncan v. Bonta, which found that magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds, again, a completely made-up arbitrary number, are not protected by the Second Amendment because they are not arms, and they're not even protected as an ancillary right because they're not necessary to the overall function of the arm. And so, again, the Washington State Supreme Court, just like the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, said that they are not protected. Now, Washington State has their own Second Amendment, I guess you could say. It is Article 1, Section 24, which is supposed to protect the right to bear arms in Washington, and apparently the Washington State Supreme Court doesn't think that that was violated either. Let's go ahead and take a look at their decision. Okay, so here's a look at the court's opinion right here where it says, this case involves a constitutional challenge to engross substitute Senate Bill 5078, which prohibits the manufacture, distribution, importation, and sale of magazines with the capacity of holding more than 10 rounds. Gator Customs alleges ESSB 5078 violates the right to bear arms protected by Article 1, Section 24 of the Washington Constitution and the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. Now, they continue on to say, we hold that 5078 does not violate either the Washington or United States constitutional protection of the right to bear arms because LCMs are not quote-unquote arms within the meaning of either constitutional provision, nor is the right to purchase LCMs an ancillary right necessary to the realization of the core right to possess a firearm for self-defense. Now, we could go on reading this opinion for the next 20 minutes, but all it would really do is make your head spin even worse than it is now, because you'd be trying to understand the mental gymnastics that are necessary in order to make a decision like this. A decision which basically says that, well, anything that's more than 1 is fine as long as it just stops at 10. And after 10, it becomes perfectly fine to ban them. So they're not an accessory until they get to a certain point. Again, a point that is completely made up. So the Washington State Supreme Court has upheld Washington's ban on magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds. It is a trend that is going on across this country right now, but it's only going across activist states. These activist states, which are creating these bans, go to court. They end up winning in court, usually in an activist court, and then there's no circuit split in any way, and so the Supreme Court just kind of looks the other way and doesn't take them because they want to see some type of circuit split. They want to see an argument between appellate courts or lower courts or whatever. The Supreme Court has to solve this. They have to get in on this, and they have to stop this from happening because they know, just as well as you and I, that this 10-round made-up number is just a way to restrict your rights. It has nothing to do with anything else. If the number was 9, they would say that banning anything higher than 9 is perfectly constitutional. If the number was 7, they would say that anything higher than 7 is perfectly constitutional. What's going to stop them from eventually getting to 1 and saying that, hey, it's still functional, it still works? So that's all you can have, is just 1. Unless there is a stop put to this now and a realization that standard capacity is standard, then it's just going to continue to happen. So again, I urge the Supreme Court to take these cases immediately and put a stop to this so that people's rights aren't infringed for as long as they've been infringed. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you today. It's yet another activist state doing their activist stuff. Thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, consider hitting that subscribe button. Like is always appreciated. That little alarm bell will let you know when new videos come out. And you all have a great day.